Hello, friends. I have a confession to make. I'm an uh, I'm an optimist. I always prefer to see the glass half full. I always enjoy warm weather with the sun shining, and in general, I don't like to see problems unless I'm really confronted with them. I know it might not be the best solution. Many of you perhaps have a different attitude to life, but it's working for me. But I would like to strengthen my position with the following. They tell of a kindergarten class where the teacher gave out paper and said to the children, I'd like you children to draw, to the best of your ability, a beautiful day outside. Have your house, and I want you to make a cloud, and I want you to have a sun, and I want you to have a lot of flowers. And I'd like to see the picture that you draw. And all of the kids take the crayons, and they're busy drawing. The teacher collects them, writes down each person's name on the back of the picture, and takes it home just to get a sense of the children, and is taken aback because little Brian has a picture exactly of what she asked. There was a house, there was a tree, there was a cloud, there was a sun, and there were flowers. But the only colors used were black and brown. She had never seen such a dismal, depressing looking picture. And right away, she picked up on it as a good kindergarten teacher and decided to share it with the principal. The principal looks at the different pictures. There are bright yellows and reds and oranges and pink and lavenders and only one black and brown. And he got a little bit concerned as well and decided to call up the parents. The parents look at the picture and they are disturbed. I mean, their little Brian seems to be well adjusted, but this is horrible, his attitude to life. So they asked the school if they could perhaps get the school psychologist to talk to the child. Well, the child psychologist comes, makes a special meeting with little Brian, and starts a conversation. And in the middle of the conversation, takes out the picture and he says to little Brian, I see the sun, but it's very interesting. I always thought the sun was yellow. It's the first time I see a black sun. And what is that? These are flowers, right? I've never seen brown flowers. Can you explain to me, Brian, the picture? And Brian, in his innocence and exuberance, explains, this is flowers, and this is a tree, and this is my home. And he's so upbeat and so natural, the child psychologist is taken aback. He says, Brian, why is everything black? And Brian looks at the child psychologist and says, because that's the only crayon that was left. What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that there was no problem. All they had to find out is how many crayons were left, and it happened to be that little Brian only had browns and blacks. But his world was bright as everyone else's. I take this story as a great instruction, and that is that many of us interpret behavior, especially when it comes to children, and we see problems, and we get very apprehensive, and we're full of anxiety. And for that, we take them to testing and psychologists and psychiatrists and social workers and all kinds of professionals to find out what's really bothering the child. And by the time the child is X amount of years, he's seen many professionals, and the parents are told you should be careful how to talk to him, and be careful he can't take too much stress and too much this and too much that, and essentially we have a problem. Now, very often that is true. I would equally suggest many times it's not necessary. Kids will outgrow certain problems. Kids will outgrow certain stresses. And the monster of yesterday often turns out to be a very fine young man or young lady. The wild one becomes more moderate, and the person who never wanted to think or study or sit down or settle down often becomes a model citizen. I don't know where and when necessarily intervention is necessary. I'm just merely pointing out not every black and brown picture needs intervention. I say this half in jest. There's a Bible story about Jacob's children. He had 12 tribes. In the Bible, in the story, 10 of the brothers get jealous, are envious of Joseph, and they do a terrible deed. They plot against him, and essentially they sell their own brother into slavery. Of course, there's a very happy ending to the story. The slave becomes a viceroy, and there's a famine in the land. The family comes down, and suddenly they're reunited. Not suddenly, eventually they are reunited with their brother, who's now a viceroy, who acts to them so kindly. But think for a moment, if you were trying to analyze this family. 10 brothers are jealous of one. Not only are they jealous, but they have good reason to be jealous, because this one seemed to do things against the 10. What kind of offspring would be produced from this? In other words, could you imagine the whispers? You know, our uncle and our great uncle, he once sold our father. If you would imagine a family filled with dissension, you might suggest that the children of Jacob are sowing seeds which dissension will sprout from. And yet, there's no closer people on earth than Jews. There are no kinder people towards one another than Jewish people. And for all of the bluster and for all of the loud, vociferous arguments about religion and about disagreements of politics, the majority of Jewish people care deeply about other Jews, even strangers. As a matter of fact, I could tell you a personal thing. I'm reminded now of someone gave me a call from the bus depot. This happened years ago, and said, "Rabbi, there's a person over here who needs bus fare, whatever it is. Can you help?" And I think it was either it was a policeman or it was someone. It was someone in the bus depot, and I was a little taken aback. I mean, I said, "So why are you calling me?" And the response was, "The person says they're Jewish." And right away, my whole demeanor changed. Jewish? Sure. Where do they have to go? Send them over. It was like I had not seen the person. I didn't know who the person even was. But as soon as the official told me, well, the person is Jewish and is in trouble, right away, as a Jew, I responded. And I know that I'm not unique about this at all, because Jewish people are truly concerned about other Jews. But trace it back. We should be we should be a problem people. If our ancestors could not get along together as a family, how much probably there's a genetic flaw. There was no problem. It resolved itself. There was a correction made. There was a teshuvah, a return to God that came from it. And that's my message for you today. May God spare us from all problems. May He give us the wisdom to know what is a problem. May He give us the wisdom and the fortitude to deal with the problem. But our first thought should be, we have a great God, things will work out. That should be our first attitude. At least, I can only speak from my perspective, it's worked for me. I wish you all happiness, and once again, a life filled with direction. Shalom.